Welcome to the Align and Turn On with Nejma podcast. This is a space for women who are done settling for fine or performing growth and ready to truly lead from their truth and soul's purpose. This is where we have real, unfiltered conversations about what it actually takes to own your truth, your power, and your full self-expression in all areas of your life. So through these conversations and through the lens of my work with the 5-pointed star path, we go beyond surface level growth and into the kind of self-discovery that changes everything on how you show up every day. So let's dive in. Today, I'm joined with the beautiful Caryn Meininger. I'm so excited to have you here. Let me introduce Caryn. She is a powerhouse. She blends inquiry, mind-body integration, emotional processing, and practical alignment methods to help clients remove blocks and achieve clarity so they can confidently move into intelligent action. I love that. Hello, Caryn.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today. I am so honored and excited to be here, and I just appreciate the gift that you are to this world. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, it is an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad you're here. And today we're actually going a little deep because we're going to talk about the fifth step of the 5-pointed star path, which is letting your becoming sparkle even brighter. So I'm curious, what does that mean for you, letting your becoming sparkle even brighter in your day-to-day life right now for you?
Well, I think it's different for everybody, right? Because fulfillment looks different for everybody. And like somebody, it, for me, it's knowing what is bigger than you and having the why behind it. And that to me is how you're going to be able to sparkle even more. And because I work with higher level women, right? So a lot of times it's like we're wearing a lot of masks,
Mhm.
right? Even myself, I exited an 8-figure business. Okay, I understand what it feels like to be unfulfilled and like knowing you're meant for more and making more impact and having this ripple effect in the universe, right? And and so after exiting that company, I was like, I have this big idea and I'm going to sparkle and I'm going to make an impact and I'm going to do all of these things. And so what happened is I actually had an identity death, right?
Mm.
Because for 20 years, I did the same thing, ran the same business out of the same warehouse, you know, just leading the same team, in and out, some people came and gone, but um, managing conflicts, it was a hamster wheel. And there was no sparkle for me in it.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to dive right in and I'm going to
Boom.
change the world.
Yeah.
And my nervous system is like, what are you doing? Why
Everything's
are you doing
changing.
this?
What are you doing to us?
Yeah, like what is happening? And you have this big idea. And then it's like, and I'm very much in the manifestation world. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no how. We don't have to worry about the how. We just have to be her now. And we get to feel into like, what would 8-figure Caryn do? Not in this business. And I literally died. Like, I was like, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I knew I wanted to make an impact, but I didn't know. So what
So how,
happened?
yeah. So how did you find
Yeah.
out?
So I started putting on these different identities. I was like, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to help parents. I'm going to help kids. I'm going to get on stages, right? Like there were
Yeah.
all of these different identities. And let me tell you, exiting an 8-figure company or exiting any company, it doesn't matter how much, right?
Or a
No,
corporate job or anything like that, probably, right?
there was so much learning and unlearning to do in my life
Hmm.
that, and I didn't have the support. It was very lonely. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't understand the amount of drama that comes after an exit. I was not prepared for that. And so I started hiring mentors,
Yeah.
lots of them. And because I was like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I to even add sparkle to my life? It's hard to add sparkle when you don't know who you are. And so to me, that was the first step. And for any woman, especially who is knowing they're meant for more, they're already successful, but want to make more impact. What I'm learning through all of these different identities and trying to build these new businesses and have this business development and learn from all of these mentors and invest in myself and show up for myself and not be afraid to do it, even though it's terrifying,
Yeah.
is what is the contribution that you want to make to the world that is bigger than yourself?
100%. And I love everything you said, even up until now, because letting your becoming sparkle even brighter can be messy, right? It's like, you know, but you were still becoming when you were like trying on all these different identities, right? Some people say
Mhm.
entrepreneurship is like throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying different things and seeing what sticks and what actually aligns. So it feels like you went on that journey of finding out, and you're probably still on the journey, even though now it's clearer and you have that mission to pull you forward and actually give you that sense of fulfillment and direction. My
Yeah,
guess is you're still in that becoming and you'll never stop.
I don't think it ever stops. And what I've noticed is when you're very successful
Yeah.
and 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 that could look different for everybody, right? Like success for somebody could be six figures, success for somebody could be nine figures, $1 billion. It doesn't matter. But at some point, especially overachievers, right? We
Mhm.
get there, we get that goal. We're okay.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to celebrate it.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, what's next? What's next? What do I have to do next to prove that I'm still worthy
Mhm.
of who I am? And because if it, and what I like to ask, and I'll ask your audiences too, if you take away being a mom, if you take away your business,
Yeah.
if you take away being a partner, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you
One
without?
question that I like to go even deeper is like, and once you answer that, what more are you than that?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. But and yes, and the way I like to look at it is what frequency
Mhm.
are you living from? So, sometimes I'll be like, oh, well, who am I? Well, I'm a coach. Okay.
Yeah.
No, who are you if you're not a coach?
Mhm.
And really, it's whatever your pure essence is,
Mhm.
right? So for me, it's like, I am love, I am light.
Yeah.
And when you start operating from that frequency, more opportunities are going to show up and the more clarity you're going to get on the thing that is bigger than you.
Yeah.
So when you hit those milestones and you hit those levels, Tony Robbins talks about like six basic needs.
Mhm.
And I think for most women, especially men as well, especially men, who am I kidding? Um, it comes down to contribution. And I don't mean contribution as here's a check
Of
to
course.
this foundation and now I'm good. But no,
Mhm.
like, where is it in your heart of your why that is bigger than you? So for me, it's anti-bullying.
Mm.
To me, is bigger than anything. I have an 8-year-old son who
Mhm.
has been bullied and has been
Ugh,
taught how to support and stand up for himself.
nice.
And I want every child, adults too, right? As adults, we're bullied on the
Yeah,
internet, we're bullied for aging, we're
100%.
bullied for all of these things because why?
The clicks
Right?
don't stay in high school. Like they continue.
They don't, we just get more sophisticated about it,
Hmm.
right? And so for me, anti-bullying is bigger than myself
Yeah.
because it changes the world. on a vibrational level. The less bullies we have, the happier our kids are, the happier
Yes.
our adults are, right? It's a ripple effect. So, what is it that is bigger than yourself? The money doesn't matter. Look, I had all the money in the world
Yeah.
and I wasn't happy.
I totally get it. And I think I like to talk about this aspects of like we're ticking all the boxes of what it looks like to have a successful life, like the good life on paper. And I was there too. I was a pharmacist for 10 years. I moved to the suburbs of New York City with my husband who worked in finance. Like my salary was peanuts compared to him. We had the dog, the house, I had a baby on the way, right? Technically, I should freaking be happy. But there's kind of this desire for more, like you say, there's this, and it might not be for everybody, but high achieving women, like we have this call for something else. And I didn't know what it was back then, right? There's kind of like that figuring out phase. And even when you figure out, it keeps evolving and morphing. And I think that's the beauty of this path, because sometimes I know me, I don't know if it's the influence of fairy tales with happily ever after, this idea that we arrive somewhere and then we're good. It's like you just got to get the grades, get in the good college, get the job, get the house and the family, and you're set. You just put money aside for retirement. But that's kind of a lie, right? So we get to this arrival, I get somewhere, versus now it's actually a journey. And I can allow my becoming to shine brighter and brighter, right? And being pulled by purpose, like you said.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we lose sense of our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the higher levels, right? We're grinding, we're taught to grind. Look, I have baby boomer parents, right? It
Yeah.
was all about grinding and figuring it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were no coaches or mentors or I mean, and if they were like they weren't accessible,
It was a culture too. Like they didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't even consider that it could be any
No, you
different.
grinded, you figured it out, you hustled, you
Yeah.
worked hard, and then you came to dinner. And then
Yeah.
you talked about how you worked hard that day. That was the rinse and repeat
Exactly.
of that generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or my generation. And so now it's like we have so much access to help, support, contribution, right? There's so many opportunities for contribution. And a lot of times I hear, well, when I have this much money,
Yeah. Then
then
I'll
then
contribute.
then
Yeah.
I'll contribute. Or when I'm doing this, then I'll do that, right? And we have to go back to the be do have, right? We all know this
The,
philosophy, but
yeah.
it's something that quick digression. So in the book Psycho Cybernetics,
Mm-hmm.
he talks a lot about like the way we look. Like the way we look matters because it's the way that we're going to show up and present ourselves in the world.
Gotcha.
And he had this little bit, like this is the second time reading the book, and I totally missed this the first time, and I loved this. So when we talk about like be do have and manifestation and being at the top of the mountain and like, okay, we got to visualize being at the top and what
Mm-hmm.
does that feel like and who are we when we feel that way? But what he said in this book was fascinating to me. He's like, it's not about being at the top. It's
Mm-hmm.
about feeling into the journey
Yeah.
versus already being there. And what does it feel like being on the actual journey? And I think there is so much magic in that
A
because
100%. Tell me, because
yeah, because when we start being present in the journey and how we want to feel in each of the steps, we're actually going to get there faster than thinking of us already there. You know how people say like, I never imagined this would be my life.
yes.
You hear people that I never imagined this would be my life
Mm-hmm.
in the positive.
Yes.
But at some level they did because they were in the journey of it.
And I'm totally aligned with what you're saying because the other day I was doing just that, right? The typical manifestation. Okay, once I get the result, how am I going to feel? What am I going to behave? And then suddenly in the middle of it, I was like, wait, what's preventing me from getting there? It's not the beautiful energy, is how am I going to behave when challenges come? Like, who am I going to be when things don't go my way? How am I going to feel faced with things in my way or people saying something or anything else that's happened that's outside of my control? And I started to realize that that's what I want to manifest, quote unquote, or learn to source from my future self, not what it's going to feel like when everything's peachy and everything's going my way and I'm just looking at the money in the bank. That's lovely, but what's going to carry me forward is that person from the future. How does she handle challenges? Because that's going to show up. And if I can show up like that on the way, I think I'm going to get there a lot quicker from that.
Yeah. And it's how we step into the becoming. It's how we start having the sparkle. So true story.
Yay. I love
want to
that.
admit, I don't even want to admit this, but okay. Okay. So
That's a hook right there. I don't want to admit this, but that's your next reel.
okay. Okay. So on social media, I get targeted for these like ridiculous dramas. Okay.
Mm.
They're on these like different apps and like you can buy a membership and then like watch all these like shows. And I buy into these stupid shows every single time when it's about like some billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they're a secret undercover billionaire, right? Like you don't know they're a billionaire.
Okay.
And they meet like somebody that's like poor and distressed or trying to make ends meet, right? And then they have this like magical whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's always like the storyline's the same, right? That's like the romance. And then in between there's always like somebody trying to sabotage the billionaire because they don't know they're the billionaire, right? And they think they're poor. So the billionaire acts like they're poor, but they're
Yeah.
not. And so I
And it's a
watch
romance thing, like about finding like
sometimes,
a love
most of the
partner.
time, the
Okay.
ones that I watch, but
Oh,
there's
I
all
see.
different shows. But I'm
Prince
like a
Charming in disguise, right?
right. Those I love those, right? Those are my like escape reality. Let me watch this.
We need those. Yeah.
But for me, it's like the psychology of a billionaire,
Yeah.
right? And how are they handling themselves when there's conflict, when there's
Yeah.
friction, when there's hatred, when there's sabotage? And it is unbelievable how you'll never see them yell.
Mm-hmm.
They hold the presence with this knowing, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's no proof. Like, I'm not proving myself to
They're like in their
anybody.
greatness and they're
They're
owning it.
in their greatness. And
Yeah.
like, to me, it is like this fascinating research on, and look, I know it's a dumb show and like, but I do think there is
Girl,
truth.
send me those links. I want
Oh
to
yeah.
study the psychology.
Oh my God, girl. It's bad. But like they're shows and they're made up,
Of
right? But
course,
I
of course.
do believe there is truth to how
Yeah.
a billionaire holds himself when somebody's trying to sabotage them.
I love
And
that because people might not know, right? When we think about how would I handle challenges, like sometimes you might be like, I don't freaking know, but you can start to model. That's what Tony
that's
Robbins did to be where he is. So these shows unconsciously, right? You are modeling that mindset. So you're teaching yourself or subconsciously how to handle yourself. That's brilliant, actually.
and I learned this from what's his name? Benjamin Hardy.
Yeah.
Okay. And 10x is better than 2x. I
Mhm.
might be butchering the title of his book, but something he says in that book that changed my life is always be the buyer because the
Ooh.
buyer always has leverage. So even when you're selling, right? Like even when you're selling, be the buyer, be the one with the
Mhm.
leverage always, and you will always be on top. And it's what I tell everyone. Are you being the buyer in the situation?
Can you give us a real life example so we can understand? Because of course it's clear when you're actually buying something, but like psychologically, let's say in interactions or day to day, like how would that play out?
Yeah. So, for example,
Yeah.
you're selling a service, right? Let's do hair. I don't
Okay.
know, just well, or like a hair salon.
You're okay.
Okay,
You're a
I'm making this
hairstylist.
up on the fly, so
Cool.
just bear with me as I navigate my thoughts on this. So you're the service,
Hmm.
right? You're the service, and then your client comes in and is like trying to negotiate your services,
Right.
right? And you're like, no, like
Mm.
this isn't negotiable. So now you're the buyer because you're not letting this person tell you how to run your business and you're okay with them leaving and not
It's
buying.
almost like you're buying, quote unquote, not with money, the client. So it's like if you want me to be your hairdresser, like this is the type of clients I get. And I've heard even you've talked about Tony Robbins saying like sometimes you need to fire clients. And
Right.
so that puts you in that position of the metaphorical buyer.
Right. And the buyer, right? So the buyer always has the opportunity to walk away,
Mm,
right?
I like
That,
that.
right? Like you're buying a house,
Yeah.
like the seller is trapped in that contract. But
Unless
the
it's a bidding war and now they get to pick, right? So, and then that
right.
puts them in that position of the
But
buyer.
even so,
Mhm.
once the seller picks the buyer and they're in
Yeah.
that contract,
Yeah.
that buyer has the 10-day inspections.
Right.
They have the 3 days to put in, like they can walk away.
That's
They,
true.
technically, they can walk away the day of closing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They might lose their deposit or whatever, but technically they can walk. The
Hmm.
seller cannot,
Hmm.
right? So it's the same thing when you're the seller, right? Like in transactions and not figuratively in buying a house, right? The seller's the seller, the buyer's the buyer, but just in the way you run your business, in the way you show up.
Hmm.
Like how do you position yourself to be the one with the leverage where it's like, no, you're welcome. I'm actually doing you a favor by providing this service for you. And you can either choose to be a part of it or not be a part of it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But there's no like, like when you're in
This
the
is attachment energy, right?
of, I
Right.
need this person. For example, so technically I'm the buyer in this situation, but I stayed the buyer. So I had a conflict yesterday with
Hmm.
um, somebody on my team and that I've hired, right? Like I pay
Right.
them. And they were giving me a lot of attitude.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't appreciate this tone. And if this challenge is too hard for you to handle, then if this situation is too challenging for you, we don't have to work together. Bye.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's okay. It's fine. Like we don't need to work together. What happened in that moment? There was leverage, right? You're not afraid to walk away. It's the same thing when you're buying a car, right? The salesman wants the sale,
Hmm.
but the person buying the car, who wants it more? The buyer or the
Yeah, and
seller?
if you're like thinking you have the bargaining chip at the seller, but the at the buyer, but the seller decides to change his position and be like, "Listen, I can't go lower than that. So if you can't afford it, then let's look at a different car for you." Like suddenly it's like, "Oh, wait, no, I actually want it. Like, hold on, maybe I want to buy it."
Right. It's having the leverage of who wants it more.
Yes.
And that's always being the buyer. And I hope that explains it a little
Yeah.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really cool. That's a really fun concept. Thank you for sharing that because it's kind of like a way to be in your power. That's what I'm hearing, like that theme, which is the first step of the 5 pointed star path. Funny enough, we just kind of went full circle. I love it, right?
Heck
Because
yes.
that's what we just talked about, like that billionaire energy, standing in their power, just owning their greatness. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like letting go of like I'm so dependent of someone else buying or someone else liking me, even in people pleasing. That's kind of like what it is, right? I want you to still include me in the group, to still like me. So I'm being the seller. I'm trying to keep selling myself as opposed to being like, listen, this is who I am. And if it doesn't fit with your group, that's totally cool. I have other people in my life, right? It's not like I need you to love me. So I could totally see that concept going across the board in your life.
And people pleasing, now that you bring it up, is such an
Mhm.
interesting persona,
Mhm.
right? Because people pleasers, I feel like they think, and they are in some capacity, they're such givers, right?
Mhm.
Like they're people pleasing. They're giving in to conform to their, to fit in, right? Like, or to help in some sort of way.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating about people pleasers is, and look, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a psychologist, full disclaimer, but my perception of it is people pleasers do that because they're actually trying to get a feeling from it.
It's
They're
100% a transaction. I grew up people pleasing and I moved away from it and I did a lot of people pleasing coaching. So I can corroborate your
Yes.
non-scientific deduction. It's true.
And when you are a people pleaser and you start recognizing like, okay, I'm people pleasing or I'm conforming to this person
Mhm.
so I can feel what? So I can feel I can belong, so I can feel worthy, so I can be liked. It's
Lovable, included,
it's
all of these
actually
things.
an exchange.
Yes.
And when you start to realize that, you will most likely stop people pleasing as much because that is like death to a people pleaser. And you're like, oh my God, I'm actually trying to get a feeling from this. And then what happens is you give and you give and you give. And then you want something in return from that person because you need their support or whatever it is, or money or whatever it is. And then they don't give it to you
Mhm.
because they're not a people pleaser. You create resentment towards that person.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it becomes this vicious.
It's like I'm giving so much and they can't even give me this. Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
And that's why with people pleasing, you can't, in my experience, just stop. Like it's like, what is actually, like you said, what is the emotion you're looking to get? Because it comes from this emptiness, from this lack of having it from the inside out. So I'm looking outside of myself. So I can feel the sense. For me, it was like, I'm feeling unlovable. That was my eternal question that never got answered, no matter how much proof I got. Am I lovable? Am I lovable? Am I lovable? And like everything happening outside, I was judging. And of course, focusing on the ones that told me I wasn't or that interpreted as you're not lovable. And then it makes the loop. So even if you notice and you hate it, if you don't go to the core of how can I love myself from the inside out, you might still be stuck in the transaction.
And let's talk about that because I
Yeah.
think we talk about it, but we don't know how to actually do it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to transform from the inside out. I
Mm-hmm.
need to go inward. I need
Yeah.
to, whatever, meditate, go on a walk, like be with my thoughts. But like, no, well, yes, yes. And but how do I actually clear this at the root?
Yes.
How do I actually clear it? And the way that you do it
Mhm.
is you essentially are reparenting yourself and you're re-nourishing yourself from your childhood traumas, not necessarily big T traumas, right? But those little micro traumas that have happened throughout your life that you didn't even realize are now showing up in your reality because you're holding on to them inside of your body that you don't even know you're holding on to, which
Yes.
is now your subconscious, right? That's projecting into this reality that is now showing up in your life. And so, in order to transform from the inside out, we actually need to go back to that younger self and start nourishing him or her and understanding what were the needs of that younger version of yourself that you didn't get as a child. And when you start doing that, you start insourcing
Yes.
what you need now. That right, you think money is going to give you freedom, but you're just chasing a feeling. And what if you started feeling freedom now?
100%. I
Where
really
that
like working with parts, doing that. Like, and oftentimes when we see what part, how old is that part? Like, of course, it's going to be a younger part of us that's actually in the driver's seat, and that's what's happening. So, this is absolutely powerful. Thank you, Caryn, so much.
You're welcome.
We've talked about so many topics. So I'm sure the listeners are like taking furious notes or like, note to self, I need to rewatch this episode. If you'd
Yeah.
like to take it deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Align and Turned On private community on Facebook and continue this conversation in there. And Caryn, if people want to connect with you, get more of your genius, what can they do?
So I hang out mostly on Instagram, Caryn Meininger, and I'm like a be a Karen because I spell my name Caryn, not a don't be a Karen. So come find me there. I hang out in the DMs a lot. And then you can also email me at hello@carynm.com. And I have my website, carynmeininger.com. I have a amazing conference coming up in October in Fort Lauderdale called Live Iconic, and we are actually transforming from the inside out. So if this is something that you want to do but you don't really know how to, we are all taking you there as a collective so that you can 10x your business and get out of your own way. And it's great Gatsby theme, so full expression of
Oh,
ourselves.
nice. And just like you said, that's the thing. Sometimes it's like, I need to go within, but how? And oftentimes is maybe you need to model someone or be guided by someone who's been there and can help you see what you can't see.
That's right.
So definitely check this out. Thank you so much, Caryn. Thank you, everybody listening. We don't take your attention lightly. Any closing words, my dear?
Just notice what's happening in your body.
Mhm.
Like, don't push it away. Don't avoid it because the very feeling you're trying to avoid is the very feeling you're creating.
Absolutely. And be do have and go watch these silly shows and model the billionaires. You got this.
Yes, model all the millionaires. Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Much love.
Bye.